No way.
So the
That's what it said.
autonomy, sensory, meridian response I get when I hear you eating cheesecake on a podcast, it's a weird autonomy response.
Okay.
That's
fair
a
enough.
trigger, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But welcome, everybody, to the Painted Arrow Podcast. Thanks for tuning in today. This is kind of a special time of year for a number of reasons. We just got off of our second annual Painted Arrow Christmas party, and that was kind of a cool thing that we did. And I think I said it last night. Devin and I got up and spoke some words to the people for a little while, and that was fun. Kind of gave an update on just business in general. We're kind of trying to be transparent, and in that, like I think I said, the first Christmas party was just you and me.
Oh, yeah.
So there's really no party.
Year 2.
Yeah,
We
year
did
two.
we did a little shindig down at the local restaurant. And this year,
And that was probably how many people last year? I mean, it was mainly family and Trav.
it
And
had to be like 10 to 15. It wasn't 20.
it wasn't 20.
No, yeah.
And then last night, though, I mean, it was
Oh, we packed out the building last night.
that
was wild.
between 40 and 50 people,
Yeah, there was no doing it at a restaurant anymore.
and it was really fun. It was
sweet.
just kind of it was a big moment for, I don't know, it just felt like a big moment.
It was fulfilling. I mean, and humbling just seeing all those people in one room that all have, in one way or another, been directly responsible for some piece of getting Painted Arrow to where it is today.
Yeah.
So to see everybody in all one spot, it was, strange.
I usually don't, like, I wasn't nervous or I wasn't,
Anxious.
it was nothing like that. I just really, truly wanted people to have a good time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when we were like, I was kind of like the, what do you call it?
Host?
Yeah, well, no,
Ringleader.
there's a word I'm looking for. The events coordinator. That was the word I was looking for.
That's fair, yeah.
So like, I don't know. In the past, I'm just like, go with the flow, but we ordered catering in, and like the people kept growing in number of how many people were coming. So I called in like a couple times to like increase the amount of food they were bringing, and I called in the day of
To bump it again.
to bump it again. They're like, sorry, there's not enough like
we, ain't
notice.
got we don't have enough chickens.
Exactly. And so that was like,
Don't have enough chicken.
it was just like, I was worried about that all day. I was like, man, if people are scraping the bottom of the pan, like that's not good. Like I just want people to enjoy themselves.
We kind of nailed it.
We did. We nailed it.
Yeah, we even had a little bit left over, like just the right amount.
It was perfect, guys.
Those things are hard to nail too. Like anytime you're at a
Oh,
Christmas
yeah.
party or anything like that where you got to have food catered in,
Yeah.
I would say you either run out or you have way too much, and usually it's you have way too much.
Like way too much. Yeah. Like if you're doing pizza even, it's
Oh, my
usually like
son's
you have,
birthday
like,
party, we had like 11 pizzas left when everybody was leaving. I was
You're like, frick!
You're leaving with a pizza. You're leaving with a pizza. Like, I did not want that to happen either, but on the same, the other side of that coin is everybody runs out of food. You don't want that to happen. So
Yeah, it's better to have too much than too little, but I feel like we literally nailed it to the point of that we have just enough left over to probably last us like 2 days with this little crew eating it for lunch.
Yeah.
except for cheesecake, we
have
got
way too much
We have
cheesecake.
4 cheesecakes sitting
my
in the
bad.
freezer.
Hey, those things are okay. Those freeze well. We're just gonna munch on them slowly throughout the next year.
I was really thinking one a man, and then some people would have 2. Like that's how I am. Like I'll have probably 2 desserts at every wedding and everything.
But we also had other desserts.
Yeah,
that
there was
were,
a lot
like,
of
brought
cookies, and then my mom brought cookies, and she wasn't supposed to. It was like
They were
there was a lot
tasty,
of
though.
alternatives
They
to
were
cheesecake,
tasty, though.
so I think the cheesecake didn't get touched quite as much.
Oh man,
We had 6, and we didn't make it through 2 of them.
no. 6 full.
So we have 4.5 cheesecakes left.
That'll be just fine. This
We've
crew's gonna have
already been
delicious-
working on it today. Yeah, we're working on remedying that issue.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
we are.
But yeah, I mean, just really quick, let's go around. Last year to this year, this is kind of like a. Let's look at this as kind of like an end year recap, and it kind of is, right? Where December 25th is kind of that's Christmas. So like
Yeah.
after that, it's pretty much everybody's in airplane mode until next year. It seems like, and we're getting ready for show season. We're going to talk about that more on the tail end of this podcast, like the shows we're going to be at. But let's just go around the room. I don't know who wants to start. Trav, you want to start?
Sure. What are we starting with?
Just any thoughts? I mean, last year to this year, for you specifically, I mean, you know, last year's Christmas party, you were in the role you're in for
A month and a half.
2 months.
Yeah.
And so now you've got a full year and a half. I guess.
Yeah.
Anything come to mind? Like
Anything come to mind? Well, I mean, certainly, like, I know usually this would be the time, like, around Thanksgiving where you'd say this kind of thing, but, like, how thankful I am to be here doing what I'm doing with you guys. Because last year I was still so new in the role that there was still a lot of, to be honest, anxiety around it, where I was like, I don't know if I can actually, like, they're welcome me in, and, like, I don't know if I can actually do this job. We'll see. Time will tell. And I feel like at this point, it's a blessing to be more established.
It worked in your favor because we didn't even know what the job was.
Yeah,
You know what I
truly,
mean?
truly. And
We
the
didn't know
job
what
has
you needed
changed. It's changed even recently.
Yeah.
My job description has changed, but it's instead of it being an anxiety-driven thing now, it's more of like it's exciting because when you see the proof in the pudding, like of we've done things that we went into not quite knowing what they're going to look like, and we've succeeded. The more you do that, the more you succeed in things that are a little bit of a reach in terms of like your natural ability, or even like our company, what we're doing. When you see a record of successes behind you, it's easier to take the path that you can't necessarily fully see in front of you, because it's like you've got confidence. And that's how I feel about, Painted Arrow, about you two guys, like specifically. I feel like, you're like the good generals that, I'll follow you guys anywhere into war, and I'm not that worried about it. Like there's a lot of question marks in our future, but it's like it's more exciting than it is terrifying.
You stack up enough mini wins, like you're okay going into the dark blind, because you're like, well,
like we'll be
figure it
fine.
out.
Yeah, we've proven it.
We figure it out. But that takes the right. That takes a team of people with the right mindset
Agreed.
to be okay with the uncertainty and know
I was
that,
going
like,
to say that,
we're gonna figure it out.
especially on, I don't know. It's not like we got kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not like we're
It's not like we're just
free and
18
just,
years
yeah.
old and
Like, I can fail, I can go bankrupt and be fine. I'll just
yeah.
live in my parents' basement. It's like, no, like you got to do it right. So there's a pressure there, but I think like the pressure's actually
We've leaned into it.
yeah. It's like it's there's no back door out. And not that I think that any of us really have the personality of looking for a back door, like, oh, how do I get out of this? But even more so, it's like, hey, we will figure this thing out because there's no other choice. Like, we're going to do it. And I think that's kind of the exciting part, because it's like, okay, we'll pivot as much as we have to. And once we find something that works, like, do the thing, And it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. I enjoy it.
Certainly.
I like that. What do you think, Dev?
I don't know. Last night was when you're moving as fast as we are, it's hard to really recognize or chart the growth or the progress or whatever you want to say. But like when we're standing there last night looking at all these people and remember where I was standing a year prior to that and the number of people we were looking at and what we were doing, it's just strange how it's all happened seemingly very quickly, but it doesn't feel quick when you're doing it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Especially with, a little over a year and a half ago, you fully taken the leap on working full time for Painted Arrow. And like, that was reminded of that last night and how big of
It was a huge thing.
was a huge thing for everybody involved. And then very quickly on the heels of that, we hired Trav.
Yeah, that's hilarious to me.
We doubled down, like being transparent. The degree to which we were like, we were concerned, like, we got to make sure we can afford to pay Nate. And we just didn't allow that to be a concern. Like, we're going to figure it out. And then we didn't really sit in that for too long before we were like, yeah, we're going to hire Trav too. Like, but the reason that's important is this. In the world we live in today, specifically, I feel like a lot of the most successful brands, they look at their company primarily as a marketing company. Like,
Yeah.
in the world we live in today, what matters more than anything, at least the way that I see it, is the brand, the brand, the brand. And the products and all those other things that you sell are equally as important, but those are oftentimes, just a way that you monetize the brand. I mean,
Yeah.
people are buying into the content that we create and the people that we are and the story that we share and the mission that we have. And then the products are the way that they can support that. And so hiring a full-time media coordinator when we did felt important because we had seen enough return from the money that we had spent on media prior to that to know that, man, if we really lean into this thing, this is really going to help advance the image and the brand as the customer sees it.
Yeah, even the legitimacy of it.
So it was like, you need that before you can afford it, but you can't afford it until you have it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was like, we had to do it. And so I think that's been an eye opener, and we're just kind of starting to see some of the fruits of that labor as it relates to like YouTube specifically.
Yeah.
And I feel good about where we're headed on that and leaning harder into it. Kind of a scatterbrain with a lot of my thoughts there, but
No.
it just,
You know what's wild to me is that you guys have said that a couple times just recently. Like, yeah, we really we took a leap there. I never felt that from you guys when you guys hired me. I was just like, hey, yeah, we're doing the thing, and to kind of hear in hindsight the stories of like, yeah, I mean, like Nate had been on for like a couple months as a full-time dude, and we hired you in, and we just like, we're gonna figure it out. Like, it's funny in one way, and it's also in another way like kudos to you guys for not allowing what the probable stress of that was. I didn't feel any of it.
well, that's good. But I think early on, that's why we were like, hey, let's spend the first couple months making this a part-time thing and making sure that we have enough to keep you busy. Because the worst thing would be us hiring you full-time, not having the work to keep you busy, and then not having the money to pay you.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think that, and it didn't seem very long. Like, I don't know if it was a month and a half, 2 months, whatever we did, where you were working.
It was from October the 3rd until I got hired in officially on the new year.
Oh, okay.
I think I was already working basically full-time hours as a contractor before the new year. But
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I became a Painted Arrow official employee.
But early on, I think we were like, hey, let's target 20 or 30 hours or whatever it was.
Yep.
And then, but yeah, it very quickly became obvious that like, okay, you have a figure it out mentality and mindset. And so there's a lot more we're going to be able to throw at you beyond just, hey, edit this video. And that has helped propel the company forward in the last year, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, we've also talked about how important it is that, like I couldn't do half the crap that you guys asked me to do without your guys' input. And I love that. That's like my favorite part. Really. Like we all like sit there and we're like, huh.
Technically, like Nate and I are limited technically with a lot of
But your
that.
ideas are fantastic.
But
yeah.
like from a visual perspective and like brand visionaries, we're very aligned on a lot of things. And I like having somebody here that I hate to dumb it down and say it this way, but like having somebody that can push the buttons and create the thing that's in our head.
Yeah.
That's been crazy for us to sit down in desk chairs over your shoulder and be like, what about this? What about that? And then you're just boom, boom, boom. It just happens.
Yep.
It's fun.
We didn't have that. Like we had those aspirations and we knew the catalog we wanted to create and the all those things.
Yeah.
But like having that in your head and no way to make it reality at the level that you want it to be is frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's conflicting.
And then you always say like having different backgrounds in the same room can really make an outcome. Like you look at things in a way that maybe I wouldn't, and vice versa around the table, right?
Yeah.
That also I think is really key to, because you're like, well, you kind of get the vibe that we're going for in something, and you're like, wait a minute, and you have like this idea of something like, if they like that, they're gonna love this
Exactly.
And so to what you're saying though is
It's fun.
the collaboration to
I
get
love
the
the collaboration.
finished product after you've polished that turd quite a bit.
I love the crap.
And then we come in and look at that polished turd, and then we sparkle that thing,
Yeah,
put a little bit of makeup on it.
Yeah, a little glitter.
Well, and
Little
and
cologne.
two, like then you've also then learned the like we're a lean and mean team.
Oh, yeah.
Small but mighty, as Nate says. Like
no,
so we
last
have
night
to be
he
able to
said
put
mighty
out-
but small.
yeah. We have to put out a very high quality product with as limited inputs as possible to be efficient. So once you learned that, it made a lot like it
Oh,
became
yeah.
helpful because we were like, "Hey, can you do this?" And you're like, "I can, but it will be 7 hours. Do you want me to? Or could we do this thing instead that'll take a fraction of the time but might look 80% there?"
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So helping us navigate those trade-offs is
The
also
quantity versus
important
quality,
because prior to that it'd be like, this is what we want and this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
And then it might not be the best,
Pay
thing
for a full video shoot.
Correct.
Can I go on a tangent real quick?
Please.
Tangent.
This whole podcast is tangents.
You just said something. So I had a bunch of things that I was going to say, and I'm probably going to say them all, but I don't know at what point I'm going to say them. But you just said small but mighty. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about that. Like oddly, on my drive home last night, it's
In the dark.
It's dark. I have a pretty long drive.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there thinking about small but mighty. I don't know why. And like I was thinking about David and Goliath.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know the story, right?
Yeah.
David's this young shepherd who is the least likely candidate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The least likely candidate to fight and slay a giant.
Yep.
But God, through his experience as a shepherd, right, had prepared him for that moment in history to slay a giant. And I'm literally having this profound car ride last night. I'm thinking, how similar are we to, like, all the things, like, we've been forged in our past to the point in time where Painted Arrow became a reality. And we're sitting there last night talking about all those things that, like, got us to where we are now.
Yeah.
And how similar that is to, like, the only thing that he had that Goliath didn't was the Lord.
Yeah.
Literally the
Yeah.
only thing that he had. He didn't have armor. He didn't have anything. He had a
Yep.
sling and he had the Lord,
Yep.
and he slays the giant, right?
Yeah.
Above all odds. I love that. Do you guys relate to that at all?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Big time.
for sure.
Like, I don't know why I was thinking about that, but the small but mighty, that's our team.
It is.
That is Painted Arrow. Like, we're the small but mighty, and like that's what gets me so fired up. Like, we're talking about the GSDs, which the Get Shit Done meetings. Like, I can't. Like, nobody will really ever know how real that was. Like, it felt like years.
It was over a year.
We would get up literally every morning
Every single morning.
and push the ball down the field. And when I say that, I mean, like, anything to just, like, I don't know if it's just who we were. I know that's how I am.
Well,
Like,
it was like we were both still working full-time jobs, and we're like, how do we continue to push the company forward? And a lot of times we didn't know what the next step was, but it's like, if we just get up tomorrow at 4:30 and stare at each other on a computer screen on a phone call until we have to go to work,
that's exactly what happened.
something will occur in that meeting where it's like, okay, that's the next right thing to do. And that's what it has felt like building a business. You're just doing whatever the next right thing to do is.
And that's
you don't
why-
even know what the next one is.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how aimless a lot of that was. Do you know what I mean?
Kind of.
When I say aimless, I mean it's the middle of the winter and you're waking up in the dark
Yeah.
and you're staring at somebody on a screen and you're like talking about a marketing scheme that doesn't even really exist.
Yeah.
There's not a product line to actually
Yeah.
fuel sales that you want, and it's like this thing that you know is there.
Yeah.
You believe in it with all your heart, all your soul, but it's not even really a thing.
Not tangible. Yeah.
But we had this belief and we knew what it could be because we had seen the interactions from the people at the trade shows. We had seen the interactions the feedback and just like the actual success that we saw in a very short amount of time. So like last night talking about all that, it really just like brought it all around for me again, because it was like I forgot about that almost. And sorry, I'm not done. And just talking about like the small wins, right? Like I said, I've said it, pushing the ball just a little bit. Like that is brick by brick how things are built. Like you said it the other day, everything about the packaging, everything about our website, everything about how we assemble products, everything about how we do everything in this entire building is like brick by brick. We did it. And it's so crazy to sit here and look at it. Like every panel, every sound dampening
it was
panel,
a conscious decision that one of us made.
Every
that, like,
board.
that should be a thing, and now it is.
the logo here.
You know what I mean?
We custom built this table that we're sitting at. We bought the chairs specifically for the height.
It's not even the task of building the table. It's I don't know how to explain it, but it's like it feels miraculous. But we sat there and stared at each other, and what is the next thing that should happen? And like when you brought up packaging, every little thing, like that minor edit to packaging, that was a conscious decision we made. Like every little thing is a decision that we had to make that then led to another thing that had to happen. It's
never ending.
It's never ending.
No, it's actually never, ever, ever, ever ending. It's never ending.
But I look back and I'm like, how did we know at that time that was the thing that needed to happen? We didn't. We actually didn't. And it would be fun to listen back to those conversations and listen to the amount of shit that got thrown at the wall that we didn't do. Like, I'd love to go back when we were discussing certain decisions and you look at the three other things that were maybe brought up during that conversation that we decided not to do and then did the thing that ultimately pushed us forward. Like, what if one of those other things, like, what if we didn't choose to do that and we had done that thing in terms of like, oh, we want to partner with whoever. Let's reach out to them. And then we talked to whoever, but we didn't talk to the other person that was in that same conversation. Like everything.
It's divine.
It's bananas. Yeah, it is divine
It's bizarre.
how everything fell into place specifically when it was supposed to.
And then talking again about, it was pretty emotional talking about quitting my job for some reason. I felt like I held it together, but like
you did. A lot better than I did.
It was like I don't think I've ever talked about this on a podcast, like in a raw form.
I don't know. Probably not.
Because this was like a pivotal point. I remember this being like, it's like, is Painted Arrow going to be like this thing, or is it going to be like this? Like it was very clearly we got to that point.
Well, the GSDs were a thing, and again, both doing double duty, getting up early, figuring out what each of us can tackle today separately that will push the company forward, so that we can then meet again tomorrow and have the same conversation every morning. And I think we just got to a very obvious crossroads where it's like we've really pushed this thing to the point where it needs somebody full time or will not continue to move forward at the level that we've been moving forward. Like it now requires enough that somebody has to put dedicated effort on it full time for it to continue on the little path that we've created, or it not only will not be able to stay where it's at, it's going to start going backwards. Like we've said this a couple times. We've created a monster.
And it just is hungry.
And it just gets hungrier and hungrier, and it's got to eat more.
Yeah.
And the bigger you make it, the more hungry it is, and the more inputs that are needed.
Yep.
And it got to the point where, like, we nurtured this thing to the point where, like, shoot, somebody's got to be there daily to make sure it's eaten.
It's so true.
And it was that obvious crossroads that was like, okay, what do we want? Do we want this to be a thing? Because if we do, it needs dedicated, full-time effort. And it was an obvious thing that happened.
Yeah.
Because we talked about timeline all the way there, but when it presented itself was maybe, I think, 5 to 6 months ahead of where we thought you might be comfortable with taking the leap. And it was like a very obvious thing. I was driving home from work on a June afternoon, and I'm like, we had that conversation. We're like, dude, is the time right now? I think it might be right now, before I was having my second kid, before your first kid arrives. You've got a 6-month window. We've got a summer. We're headed into the busy season. Like, right now might be the time. And I look back, and what if you hadn't?
Well, that's what I think about all the time. Is, I mean, okay. So before I actually would have quit my job, so I would still be working for the man. Like I would have told you that it's like this thing I fantasize or dream about, like being in that position of like just being able to do that. Like what if I had the time, the unlimited amount of time to sink into my own thing? Like what could happen? Question mark. The thought of that captivated me. And then it got to that point and I was like scared as hell.
I remember.
Do you know what I mean?
And we kept saying too, like, if we've gotten it to this point without us focusing on it full time, like, what's going to happen when we
Huge
can?
question mark. It is honestly like I would always think about like the cloud bubble with a big question mark. Like, what if?
Yeah.
What if I was doing this? Could I? Could it? What?
Yeah.
What if? Like, and it got to that point that I just remember being so scared, like, because like I was doing a lot of big life things, and I think I'm gonna write a book about this someday, and I'm not kidding. We kind of always talked about like writing a book and different chapters of this business, but like, I mean, I listened to the Nick Bear podcast, and he was talking about you know being. Help me if I'm not saying this right, but I remember it being something along the lines of, you know, big life moments come and they go every 5 to 10 years. And you think you're having a midlife crisis, but it's just a new thing that happens and it's cyclical.
Yep.
And every once in a while, those things can stack up on top of each other and it's a very overwhelming period of life.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah. I can't remember the exact phrases that he was using, what the verbiage was, but it was like you have these different types of significant life events, such as career change.
I literally listened to that podcast and he was saying those things.
Buying a new house, having a child, like all these things. And we're like, wait, you're doing 3 of those right now.
I had just gotten married.
Oh, that's 4.
I had just gotten married.
That's 1.
I literally was quitting my job.
2.
I was moving homes,
3.
which was just crazy because my mortgage doubled.
Yeah.
Because I was living in a 1,400 square foot house and now I'm not.
So, but to be clear, the move was in prep for having a family.
Yeah. But yeah, moving.
So that's 3.
And then what was the 4th one? I was having a kid. Ridge. Yeah. My homeboy is coming into the world. And it was like, he was, 4 months out.
Yeah.
Because she was like 5 or 6 months pregnant.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those God things. Like, I don't know how else to say it. We had $7,700 in our bank account. We had just put Shields on, and we had this conversation like, look, if we can put on some dealers. And that was kind of the phase we were putting on dealers for the first time, like in a serious sense. And we went on a travel loop to all of our new Shields locations we had just put on. They gave us a list of the locations and who the manager was in the section. So I called a bunch ahead and I'm like, hey, we're going to be coming on this loop. We'll be in your area this day. If I can, I'd love to stop and talk with you and meet you. We're a new brand. And we got in every single one that we asked to go in, basically, because, it's a retail outlet. They're typically open. And
so what it was they can require certain stores to carry X amount of a specific product. But then there's like a different level where it's like you're approved to go into all stores. Stores have the ability to buy from you.
Yeah.
But they're not required to carry it. And so that was like the initial thing is they brought in Painted Arrow products.
But they
made them available
to have you.
in all stores, but there was only like 5 of them that were required to carry it.
Yeah.
So we brought them on and we were like, well, what if we go to all of them and just convince them to bring it in? Because they can. It's already in their system. All they got to do is hit buy.
Yep.
That was like the big thing is like, corporate team was telling us all the stores can have your stuff. We're just not telling them they have to until we see some sales data.
And then along that route, because they were like spaced out in the big cities, right? So like I was calling ahead to all these independent dealers.
Yeah.
And I think, after that week and a half or whatever it was, 2 weeks, I came home and I think we put on 5 new like independent dealers throughout Wisconsin and Illinois and Ohio and that kind of thing. And then like the response from the Shields locations was like overwhelming. And they're like, yep, we'll bring him in. Because I kind of pointed him down. I'm like, hey, I just told him who I was. Like, I'm thinking about quitting my job, like, depending on how this trip goes, like, we're really hoping to do big things. And here's the products that we're working on, things that they would never know, right? They're sitting there looking at me. And I had there's a sense of desperateness, you know what I mean?
Yeah, urgency. Yeah.
It definitely was.
It was just so conflicting because we both felt like the timing was right for you to do it. But the bank account was not saying that was true.
The bank account was everything on paper was saying don't do this.
But we both knew somehow, like, had this gut feeling like right now is the best time to, and we were like, oh my god,
You know what that feeling is?
God.
Yeah,
100%.
That there Holy Spirit, baby.
It's great.
He's like, hey,
great point.
I'm gonna nudge because I don't know if I should be taking this off this tangent, but like usually the right next steps are the ones that are going to require some faith. Like there's not much that you get in this life that's just given to you and it's like, yeah, and this just happened. It's like, no, God is usually using steps of faith to guide us because as we, just like what I said earlier about like why I have confidence in this company, just parallels spiritual reality of like, those events where you feel that nudge and you're like, but it doesn't make sense here, but I'm going to do it. And then God takes you to the other side of it. And it's like, but here helps you. Those are all the little steps of faith that give you confidence that there is a plan for me and it's a good one.
Yeah.
And it's probably better than anything I could plan for myself. And it's not going to usually make sense, but I'm going to follow it because he's already shown that he can do it before.
Yeah.
That's just cool.
And God typically, God doesn't say, "Hey, come follow me," and it's going to be real peachy.
No.
Typically, it's quite the opposite.
It's rocky, but it's also worth it. 100%.
Come follow me and have faith.
Yeah.
And dude, that was. I got to give a huge props to you too because a lot of people don't know this, but like you pretty much gave me the final nudge.
So I was just going to mention that, and in a way. This is strange to say it this way, but in a way it was sort of selfish. Like I knew the sacrifice you were about to make, and I had to feel like I was sacrificing as well. Like we're in this together.
Yeah.
And I remember you obviously never asked for anything, but you were like, we were discussing the conversation you had with your wife, and we were discussing the timing and all these things, but then we were always come back to on paper, this doesn't make any sense. We have no money.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it really comes down to like...
You just like you're like, I'm ready to do it. I've got everything in place. But if this doesn't work, there's no money.
Yeah.
And I've got a baby on the way. It isn't just me anymore, is kind of what you kept saying.
Yeah.
And you said something to the effect of like, I just wish I had a little bit of like a security blanket or something. You said something to that effect. And I talked to Logan that evening, and I'm like, honey, here's where we're at with as a company, and here's what needs to happen. And here's what I'd like to, be able to offer to Nate and Lexi with you. And that would be that if for some reason this fails and what we think is going to happen doesn't happen, that we can help to make sure that he gets paid.
For a period of time.
1 year. Like, and I told her, I'm like, honey, give me a year.
I think that's what it was. We talked about like, if we try this and we need, it doesn't work for whatever reason for a certain amount of time. I think we said a year.
We said a year.
If that a year we're just not making money, then we'll cut the bait and run.
Yep. And I told her, like, just give Nate and I a year. Like, it might not be automatic, but if you give me a year. And if we got to pay him, we're going to pay him. We're going to do what we got to do to make sure that this company can move forward.
Just the fact that you guys were in a place to be able to do that.
Oh, and that's God. That's God too.
Yeah.
But I remember you called me back and we were talking about something else, and I was like, here's what we can do. And you literally were like, I'm quitting my job. Like, I didn't even get to finish my sentence before you were like, I'm doing it.
How quickly did you actually turn around and
I think he literally hung up the phone with me and called his boss. Like, literally.
Did you give him like the 2 weeks, the whole treatment, or were you just like, hey, I got to get it out of here?
The truth is what's the truth?
The truth was, you had saved up vacation time. Your wife was getting closer to getting ready to give birth, and you took that vacation time to spend some time with her.
I'll just put it out that way. I remember it was super stressful at the house because I was really having problems with my current role.
Yeah.
I was having a lot of turnover. I had a bunch of new managers within a very short amount of time, and I just was like stressed.
Yep.
And then everything we just talked about,
Yeah.
the baby, the house, like all that,
Stacked.
everything stacking, and the fact that I was gonna like just quit like this. Actually, if you, on paper, a very, very good career.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Lucrative.
In terms of security.
Oh, just like everything you would want, like on paper.
Yeah.
You like vehicle, insurance, the
Good
income,
retirement, good wage,
401k,
like, the whole thing.
everything that you would want. I mean, it was like
A steady, safe.
people would kill to have what I had.
Yeah.
People told me that all the time, like, you got it made, man.
Yeah.
And I just like struggled with that for a long time too. Like, how can I feel the way that I do about this role
When anybody else would kill
when
you
everybody
where
else
I'm
kill
at.
have it?
Yeah.
And so like that was hard too. So there's just such a big weight of that. And I remember, I think you're right. We had this conversation and we did this all together, dude.
Yeah.
We did this all together, and I felt like you were going with me on that.
I knew you felt that way, but I had to feel that way. And that was why I was like, Logan, I want to do this. Like, I want to be able to tell him that if this doesn't work, we've got him. Like, we can do this for a year. Like, give us a year.
Question. How much of like your decision-making process was affected for both of you by the fact that, because you guys both did, or was it Dev, was it just you who had done the soft plastics, the lures before that?
That was just me.
That was just you.
Yeah. And Nate
Did-
had started Painted Arrow as a podcast himself.
Did that float around in the back of your head at all? The fact that that had been something that you had like softly pursued and it didn't work, and you're looking at Painted Arrow, or was Painted Arrow felt completely different?
No, so Painted Arrow, I would say a lot of the success we've had early on, at least as it relates to decisions I made with Painted Arrow or contributed, were because of that. Like, I had several partners in that business,
Yeah.
and there was just a lot of strategic errors that we made where I was like, man, if I do this again, I'm going to do this A, B, and C.
It gave you experience.
Very different.
Yeah.
And so it's like I almost came in with a bit of a roadmap on what not to do when we brought a product to market with Painted Arrow. So that was an advantage, not like it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a thought in the back of my head that created doubt. If anything, it
was
created
something that's
confidence.
Like, okay, I've got a plan here, and sometimes failure is the best teacher.
And I knew all that too because we talked about it.
Yeah.
And I was like ecstatic about it.
Yeah.
Like, great, you screwed that up.
Yeah.
You screwed that up.
We know what not to do. Yeah.
And I mean, it's pretty obvious, I think, but dude, this wouldn't work with anybody else
Yeah.
because having business partners is really tough.
We've had people straight up tell us to our face, well, we're both standing there like, partnerships don't work. I will never go into business with anybody, especially my best friend.
Yeah, we had I can't remember who it was. I do actually remember who it was. Say like in front of, like we were standing in a circle and they're like, well, what do you think that Devin's not like working for Painted Arrow?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
like
to in front of us, and it's none of their business.
Yeah.
And we don't even need to sit here and justify
No,
it
no,
because it's not even.
Yeah.
We don't need to.
Yeah.
But it's like it just wouldn't work with anybody else.
100%. I
It
wouldn't
wouldn't-
even pursue it with anybody else.
Yeah.
It's a good way to put it. So, anyways, like we kind of went deep right there, and that's where I was last night driving home after we had this Christmas party, and we're sitting there, and if you guys didn't catch that, like we had a Christmas party and we addressed, like everybody brought their significant other, like people that we necessarily didn't know, right?
Yeah.
And so we sat down with everybody in the same room, broke bread, and we told them the raw
Inception story.
inception story. That's exactly what we did. And so it brought back all these emotions, and it just was a really powerful night. And I think it turned out, I mean, you said it, Trev, this morning. You said it this morning, Dev. I think I've said it. Like, it just was a good time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Made me feel warm and fuzzy, you know?
And there was guitar playing, and I don't know. I got to talk to pretty much everybody.
Kids were running around.
It was cool
having
'cause,
a
like,
blast.
Exactly. The kids were running.
At family functions, it's like, oh, hey, Dev, how are you? How's Painted Arrow going? Like, it was cool to be like, come on in and see. I'll show you.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, there's people who knew about what we're doing but didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh, 100, like
And
almost
so to like
everybody.
sit
Yeah.
up there and in front of all the people that I know and love and tell the story, like half of them didn't even know most of that stuff.
Well, heck, we had a decent amount of people that actually work here on the manufacturing team that were like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
It's just good, man. Because you don't get like you can count on your hand the amount of times that you actually get to have that opportunity with people in a room. That opportunity where it's appropriate, like where it's like, hey, we're all here for this reason, so please like give us the deep dive. It doesn't happen very often. We've tried to do it before via video on our website, but it's kind of buried. It's hard to find, and it's also a long listen. It was nice to be able to do that.
That was the keynote.
Yeah, it was. It was beautiful. And then like the way you guys also wrapped it up was like, hey, and now you guys are a part of the story. Here's how we started this together, but now you guys are part of the family. Like you guys are important. Like, and it had all the right like rah like, hey, we're together in this, small but mighty, and we're gonna look how far we've come and imagine how far we're gonna go, and that's exciting.
I like our chances.
I do too.
Yeah. Small but mighty. That's
It's a t-shirt. It's a sign on the wall. Should be.
that's beautiful. I do want to tell the people
Where we're going.
where we're going on the road this year. Kind of as like the shows specifically. But this will probably launch, what is it? This is basically going to be our Christmas episode.
Yeah.
So I really hope people have a really great Christmas. And I know that just from my personal family, like it's either you're really excited it's Christmas or, man, I got to spend this Christmas alone, or, hey, I got to go see a family member that I really don't want to see, or, man, I got to drive whatever. You know what I mean? So I hope that if you're listening to this, maybe you're listening to it on your way to a Christmas gathering, that it is a blessed time and it is something that is enjoyable and that you can just relax for a little while and be around family. So I think we all mean that from the bottom of our heart at Painted Arrow. This is one of the best times of the year. So I hope that's good for you. Now getting to the shows. We're cutting it down quite a bit from last year.
Yeah.
We traveled a lot last year.
Well, it's to be clear, we don't have a team of people that are going to shows for us. Like it's
we do the
us.
shows. Yeah. We do the shows, and sometimes Anna comes out with
of
us and
course.
Jeff. But
Which is why I think it's so productive
Oh yeah,
yeah,
is that we go because it's like an actual touch point.
it's the people that they follow our brand. They know us. It's not somebody else there representing our brand. Like it's us.
And I really do enjoy doing it.
that is it. There's a lot of joy in it for sure. But I think that the thing that really burnt us out last year was Great American.
Yeah.
We ran
Jalapeno burger.
we ran the Great American right into NWTF
Down at
back
the
to
Moose
back.
Lodge, down by the river.
That
in
was what?
Harrisburg.
14 day.
I got the
run, I think.
jalapeno cheddar burger, and dear God, they didn't cook it all the way.
Yeah, Nate spent the last day throwing up. It was fun.
That was like a, what do you call that?
That was like a we're never coming back here. I'm
What do
sorry.
they call it? Like a nightcapper, or what do they call that?
End cap. You talking about like that put the end
Was-
cap on the entire thing?
Maybe I'm thinking of something else. But yeah, that was like the final straw.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway,
The final heave, really.
so the first show that we're going to, January 7th through the 10th, is the ATA show,
Oh yeah.
which is closed to the general public, but a lot of people that are kind of connected loosely to
Find their way
dealers,
in.
they figure out how to get a ticket in there, and we got a big old booth. A big old booth.
Big old booth.
It's a 20 by 20. We're right on by an entrance, right by we're in a great spot. So
You know the booth number by any chance?
I think it's 962. I can tell you right now because I just had it open.
You should tell us right now.
Oh, I got it right here. You asked 967.
Wow. 967.
Thank God we didn't send people to 962.
Yeah.
962 is. Let's see who's 962.
Tyler Farr.
Well, I don't see 962 because they joined,
Yeah.
a bunch of them. But yeah, you would have found us. You would have got right near us.
So really, either way, you're
You'd
good.
have found your way.
967 is our booth. It's going to be a long story short about the ATA show. I mean, we're new. Don't get me wrong. Like we haven't been going for 20 years or anything, but it was in Indy, then went to
St. Louis.
St. Louis, and then now we're back in Indy. And I think the general consensus is
Glad to
ready
be back.
to be back. Yeah. So,
You don't say. Really?
so that's going to be a fun one. That's always a good time, and I'm excited. I'm excited for
This
that.
is gonna be my first time in Indy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's-
I mean, not first time ever in Indianapolis,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
for the
For
ATA.
The drive too. It's like 3.5 hours.
yeah.
Much better than St. Louis.
St. Louis was what we
dog.
ended up a 7.5, I think.
And then probably my most favorite show, February 12th through 15, NWTF in Nashville.
That was fun.
I'm going to be spending my 30th birthday at that show.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna get
you
you-
guys are so young.
Trav, you're what, 32?
32. I got 2 years on you.
I'm 29.
Yeah, baby. Babyface Nate.
You're a month younger than me.
Okay, well, I'm still 29.
Me too.
Oh,
Right now, yeah. He's saying that he's about to spend his 30th
Yeah.
birthday and
Yeah,
at
yeah.
NWTF.
I knew that anyway.
It's gonna be great.
That's
It's gonna be great. We love that show.
I just want to say about that show specifically, we are trying our darndest
We are trying our darndest
to launch a hot new product at that show.
You don't even have to tease it.
You don't
that
have to tease it.
cryptically.
Yeah,
Cryptically, like,
everyone knows what it is.
it's our shotgun mount.
It's called our Shot Mag.
Shot Mag. We have been pushing that thing across. Talking about the GSD meetings, like we're doing GSD meetings every day with this damn Shot Mag.
It's just
There's not a lot of reasons to try to mount a phone to a shotgun. So it's not easy.
No.
That's what I'll say.
yeah. It's when it comes out, it's gonna be
Worth it.
nasty. Remo.
Smack that.
NWTF 12 through 15 of February. That's gonna be a good one in Nashville.
Come see us. Yeah, bring me a birthday beer or something.
Nash Vegas.
And then one that's kind of still up in the air, but we're 80% is the open season show in the great state of Ohio
Ohio,
in Columbus, and that is
Ohio.
March 14 through 16.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's pretty close for us, and that's why it's on the calendar. We're planning on going, but we got to make sure that we get the shotgun mount over the finish line. Like that's kind of why we haven't like 100% committed, is because if for whatever reason we have issues in manufacturing, like we cannot afford to delay that anymore. And
Shotgun mount trumps all. So
so that's really where we are there. But
Yeah, I'm kind of anticipating at NWTF getting an earful from some people, regardless of if we have that shotgun mount or not. Like, you said you guys were going to have this last year. Because that was really, remember, that was the first show that we really started like telling people, because we thought that we had a viable product. We
did,
thought
but
we were
then-
like right there.
we have been right there.
Well, we
like
have
6
been, yeah,
times.
like four, yeah. It's always been little tweaks. We've never really had to do like, it's never been like a crazy deviation to
No.
a new product, but it was just little tweaks. But we thought for sure at NWTF last year that we were going to have it out by turkey season. And we told a lot of people that. And so we had people throughout this last year getting a hold of us via social media, email. When's the shotgun mount? When's the shotgun mount coming? So we're pushing hard.
we're right there.
We're right there. We're pushing hard. And so I'm really hoping that works out, because that'd be so much fun. That'd be
And
so much
then-
fun.
We are gonna try to go to some of the Total Archery Challenge shows, but that it's not until the late summer, and so we haven't quite committed. But that's
Maybe
still a
maybe
thing.
we'll get to shoot some of those this time.
I'll man the table.
That's great. We're gonna go shoot a couple courses.
You heard it here first.
I'll man the table. I'll get a sunburn. Heck
You
yeah.
will, right on your forehead.
My forehead. I've got a 5-head, buddy.
Okay, so any closing thoughts?
Just overwhelming gratitude. I mean, we talked a lot about how grateful we are to everybody on our team that was here last night, but I think we're equally grateful I want to make it clear that we're equally grateful to all of you, because without people following the brand, investing in our products, and supporting us the way they have, none of this is even possible. So, overwhelming gratitude. Like you said, I hope everybody has a wonderful time with their families and can unplug for a while and spend time thinking about what matters. That's my parting thought.
Do I have anything?
I don't think I can say it better than that.
My closing thought is small but mighty.
Mm-hmm.
Small but mighty. And if you don't know the story, like I was talking about David and Goliath,
Go read that.
go read it. I think it's 1 Samuel. And the key to that is, again, the least likely candidate. On paper, David was the least likely candidate to go out in front of a bunch of people in an army and fight a Goliath, like a giant. But God had been putting him through experiences for years before that to get him to the point where he had to be in that point in time to make history. And that can be you. So whatever your life situation is, right? God's using that for the better. You have to believe that. You have to believe that. He's using that to shape you, mold you. And it doesn't matter what circumstance it is. It's often the most painful ones that are most impactful, right?
Here.
So, what's that saying? They say, if you were responsible for making a really strong person, what would you put that person through to make them strong? Would you put them through sunshine and rainbows, or would you put them through some difficulty? I mean, that's
Character is forged in the fire.
Amen.
Amen. Thanks for listening along, guys. We'll catch you in the next episode and have a great Christmas.
See ya.
Peace.